Hi, I'm Beth from Choosy Stuff. Now this video is to accompany my pattern for my baby Converse boots and the little box that goes with them that can be downloaded from Etsy. Now I know on the internet there are hundreds of patterns for different Converse boots, but I wanted to come up with one that was really easy for a beginner but also quite detailed so that although they're easy, they look quite impressive. It's all about getting the right shape and the right stitching to make them look really pretty. Now my pattern is also very easy to follow. You shouldn't need the video because it's got very easy diagrams in it. But the video is just for if you really are a beginner and you need to just have some help with those tricky bits. At the back, you've got your pattern for the box with the lid, which can just be printed on to thin card. Okay, right. Please download my pattern from Etsy. The link's below, and let's just see how we get on. Thank you. So as the pattern indicates, we're going to start with the sole of the boot. The best thing to know is that when you're making these little boots, you want to work very neatly. Although there's very few stitches, and I mean you can make one in an evening, it's not like making a jumper where you want to do it really quickly and you can just watch telly. You just want to keep account of what you're doing and do exactly what it says in the pattern, and then you won't make a mistake. And work each individual stitch neatly, not too tightly, but not too loose either. Okay, so the first part of the pattern is pretty straightforward. You need, after making your chain, to do 2 single crochets in the second chain from the hook. That's your first chain, that's your second chain. And into the second chain from the hook, you need to do 2 single crochets. 1, 2. Then you need to do 1 single crochet in the next 5 chains. So have a good look here. You need to know which is going to be your next chain. Obviously you've worked into that one, you're now going into this one. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Be careful because you might, as it stretches out, you've got to realise where your next chain is all the time. Don't go into the same one you've just done. And there's your 5th. Okay, it's then asking for 1 half double in the next chain. 1 half double in the next chain. There you go, there's your half double. So follow that through, right through to the very last chain. So you've got 2 more chains to work in. So that's round 1, stage 4 and stage 5. And I'll see you at the end of there. Don't work into that knot at the end. You've just got 2 more chains to work in. I'll see you at the end. Okay, at the end of round 1, you've now done one side of the sole of the shoe. So going right into there, you've done one side of the sole. Okay? So now you want to turn your work around and work on the other side. So you need to be aware which are your chains you're working into, and they look like little, I don't know, single loops really. But to work out so that you end up with a 9th worked into there. Okay? So let's have a go at that. So your first set of half doubles that have got to be worked onto the other side of this, the first place you put them is pretty easy because the hole is very, very obvious. So there's your first half double. Half double is wrapped all around. Put it straight into that very big hole, pull through. That's your first half double. Finish off the amount of half doubles that the pattern tells you to do, and I'll let you see where we're going to go next. So that group of half doubles has brought you round. So now it wants you to ask to do another half double in the next chain. And just to show you this bit, I find that the best place to put your needle is not in that hole there, but in this one down here, because that stops you getting this sort of funny lump in your sole of your shoe. So your next half double is going into there. I think the pattern asks you to do 1 half double. Then the next stitch, yes, so your next half double is working into this stitch here. So the next stitch you'll work into is there. So follow the pattern. It's a number of single crochets it wants you to do along here. And I'll see you back. And the last thing it asks for is 2 single crochets in the last stitch. And there's your last stitch there. So there's 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets. Now then, at this point, you see you can count how many stitches you've got, and then you know you've got it correct, and you need 26. So counting from the beginning, there's your first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. And you need to put a little stitch marker in there, just so you know that's your last stitch. Okay, so that's round 1. Round 2 in section 4, we'll start now in this stitch here, and I think it asks for 2 single crochets in each of the first 2 stitches. So we just get that in focus. So 2 single crochets in there, working through both. 1, 2. It asks for 2 single crochets in the first 2 stitches. So that's the first stitch that's had 2 single crochets in it. 1, 2. So that's 2 single crochets in the second stitch. Follow the pattern round. It's very clearly laid out, and it tells you how many stitches to do in each stitch along until you get right back round to this marker here. And it's very clearly laid out how many stitches you need to do in each stitch. That's the bit where you've got to concentrate. You can't watch television. You've got to actually see, get the right count, and then count at the end. Okay, I'll see you around the other side. Okay, so the final stitches on that round are, it says, number 9 says 2 single crochets in the last 2 stitches. Well, I've done 2 single crochets in that one, and then I need to take that out. And you know that that's the last stitch, so you can't have made your count wrong, as long as that is your last stitch. If it isn't, then you know you've done something wrong and you have to pull it out. 1, 2. That's your last stitch. If you count all the way around, you'll find you've got 36 on there. Don't forget to put your marker back in there. Okay, round 3 is pretty straightforward. Starting with your first stitch, your last stitch has got the marker in it, and it says do 1 single crochet in each of the first 2 stitches. So that's 1 single crochet in each of the first 2 stitches. Again, follow it all the way around till you get to your last stitch, and it says exactly what to do in the instructions, and I'll see you round at this end mark. Okay, we're right back to the beginning again, and I know that I've not made any mistakes because the last instruction says 1 single crochet in the last 2 stitches, and I know that I've got 2 stitches left. I've got that one and that one, so I'll pull out my marker. So that's 1 single crochet in that stitch, 1 single crochet in that stitch. Brilliant. So again, you can count all those and you should end up with 42 stitches all the way around, and put in your marker. Right, so section 6 is an explanation of how to do a invisible join, because this is the end of your sole now. We've got 42 stitches on here, but we actually want to create a 43rd so that there are 43 stitches on the sole of the boot. Now then, let me show you how we do that. Okay, you didn't need to really put that marker in there because we finished going round and round. So cut your yarn with a decent tail so you can weave it in. Gently pull that through. Now then, thread your yarn with a needle. Now then, what we want to do is create not only an invisible stitch but also an extra stitch. So that means that was your first stitch, there's your last one. So in between there we need to create another one. So you've got your yarn on your needle, thread it through the back of the stitch, gently pull it through, and then feed it back down the middle of that last stitch, sort of weave it into the back a bit, gently pull that down, and that's created an invisible stitch. Well, it's an invisible closing actually, you can't tell where the end is. And then you can neatly weave in the ends. Now with baby boots, it's really important that these ends are weaved in securely, because you don't want, bits of wool getting caught around tiny toes and things like that. So this is how I'm doing it on the other side. Pull that through. Don't pull too tight or you'll make your stitches too tight. Then I go back again. Now you may feel it necessary to go back again just to make it really tight, but you don't want to get it too bulky, so I'm just doing it a little bit there. And then cut off. Similarly, weave this one in as well in the back. Now this will be the inside of the boot. It's kind of the wrong side. You can see it looks messy. The right side of the boot, which will be directly underneath the bit that's on show, has the neat chain around it. So that is the very underneath side of the boot. That's the inside. That's the outside, the bottom of the boot, if you like. Okay, we'll go on to the next section. So at this point I've also steamed the base of the boot flat, very gently by the steam iron with lots of layers of tea cloth on top, not to ruin the wool, but just to make sure it's laying flat. And what's a good idea right now is, now that you've done your boot, is to draw around it on a piece of card, because when you come to make your boots or put them into the little gift box, it's a good idea to just have a little bit of cardboard in the bottom just for display purposes, so that when you give the boot as a present, it kind of lays, it looks nice.